meeting started, and we'll begin by calling the salary board meeting to order and start with a roll call, please, Andre.
Commissioner Nieder.
I am here.
Commissioner Foxy.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger. And Controller Whitcomb.
Here.
All right. We will open the floor to public comments if there are any at this time. Audrey, is there anyone appearing online to make public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll move forward then with the approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 21st.
I second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Next up is approval of the salary board actions.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary board actions as listed.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any other business to come before the salary board this time?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Well, that was quick. Yes, so moved. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, Al, for keeping us all rolling along. We will now go into the Board of Commissioners meeting and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will call this meeting to order and begin with a roll call and turn it over to you, Audrey.
Commissioner Nieder.
I am here.
Commissioner Foxy.
I'm here.
And Commissioner Eichelberger.
Next up is public comment on any non-agenda items. If there's any member of the public online that would like to make a comment to the Board of Commissioners prior to the meeting, please use the raise your hand feature. Is anyone indicating that they are on and interested in making a public comment at this time?
We have one guest online, but no public comment.
Okay. That will take us to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. So the consent agenda is a list of routine items that do not appear to be controversial in nature and which seem to not require any additional discussion. If discussion is desired on any particular item in the consent agenda, which is agenda items 4 through 17 on today's agenda, now would be the time to make that request.
Yes, for item 5, personal transactions to be handled separately.
Hearing no other requests, Commissioners, I would ask for approval of the consent agenda, which would be agenda items 4 and then agenda items 6 through 17.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. 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 All right, item number 5.
Okay, so now would be time prior to the regular agenda for discussion and approval of agenda item number 5.
In keeping with my previous votes, I'm in favor of everything here. However, I'm not going to vote in favor of the 3 positions, code CY 20078 and 27.
Those are our children and youth positions?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I could please have a moment. Yeah. Thank you. So we had the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. We had a meeting in Hershey. Commissioners from across the Commonwealth were there, and there was a session on children and youth. The state was there to talk about children and youth. Snyder County was there to talk about children and youth. And they had a lot of recommendations for child welfare caseworker recruitment and retention. I'm just going to read a couple of these things in response to Commissioner Eichelberger's position that we do not need expansion in children and youth. Turnover and vacancy among county children and youth caseworkers negatively impact outcomes for children and family. And turnover and vacancy significantly impacts county budgets in overtime, recruiting costs, training costs, and placement costs. The Annie E. Casey Foundation estimates the direct costs of turnover in children and youth range from 70% to 200% of a caseworker's salary. Reducing turnover can lead to significant cost savings for counties. I would remind my colleagues that our Director of Children and Youth, Nikki Gresh, was here on more than one occasion to talk about what she wants to do in children and youth in terms of staffing and recruitment, and why it's important including reducing turnover. One of the final things that the state talked about was organizational culture, where establishing a stable, supportive culture that values employees and promotes trust and accountability can support caseworkers' success and job satisfaction, encouraging them to stay with our agency. I find this no vote to go against organizational culture in a positive manner. We have to have a positive culture at Children and Youth. This is a direct hit to them, to that group, and to our department head. Finally, Snyder County mentioned. Snyder County, 7th class county, mentioned that they have invested tremendously in their Children and Youth department, and that they have been able to close their prison because of their investment in Children and Youth. Now, again, it's a 7th class county, but when they got to 50 prisoners or less, they made the decision to close their prison. That is a huge cost savings for Snyder County. I once again ask Commissioner Eichelberger, which children need to suffer from abuse and neglect because you do not support this? And I think it's great that my colleague has assisted in helping me to carry your water so that we can have a Children and Youth department that functions well.
Commissioner, thank you for bringing that information back from the meeting. It was some very, a really great experience in many situations with the information that had been shared that actually validates a lot of what the county is doing right. And as I've joked before, I'm simply a numbers person as well. So I go back to the fact that this was a plan that our director put in place, got approval from the state 2 years ago, and is implementing on this plan now. We are faced with double-digit growth in our juvenile probation department, and the Children and Youth is seeing, just as we've talked about before, these cases that are unlike anything that the county has seen previously, kids with a lot of need. It's costly and to continue to operate the services, and I can appreciate that. These positions are funded at a minimum of 80%. That is their salary, that is their benefits, that is their pension. So the county is only responsible for 20% or less of these positions that are desperately needed so that we can be more proactive to try and prevent the long and very expensive process that follows if you don't intervene early. So I appreciate the collaboration that we're making in order to make this happen, because it is important for the county. I would ask for a motion to approve the personnel transactions.
So moved.
I will second that. It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 I'm in favor of all positions except CY 2078, CY 2079, CY 28.
Thank you, commissioners. That then does take us to the regular agenda, which is a list of non-routine items that will be discussed and may be acted upon individually. And I'll turn the meeting over to Angela Smizer to go through contracts and grants.
Good morning, everybody. Moving on to agenda item 18, we have Jamie Ryder here to discuss the contracts for Children and Youth Services. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, everyone. The first contract is for Binti Incorporated. This is a little bit of a different situation for us. This is a software program that we are looking into using for our family finding. This is something that we have to do with all of our cases that come in so that we can try and keep our families intact with relatives versus putting them in foster care or group homes. They are developing software for us, but we are waiting for our IT grant to be approved, which will be in March or April. That grant is actually going to be funded through Family First funds that have been extended. So it will be all federal funding. But we did have to get the contract put in place in order to secure the cost that they quoted us at this time to be able to keep that cost for the 25-26 fiscal year. The next one is Chore Youth and Family Services Incorporated Addendum. This is just decreasing several of their rates. Their final approvals came back from the state, lower than what we had originally contracted with. So several of the programs are decreasing between 2 and 6%. And the last one is Northampton County Juvenile Justice Center. This is a detention facility. Their rates increased about 5% for this fiscal year for their detention beds. And the increase is just due to overall operating costs. Any questions on those?
I don't have any questions. Does anyone have questions? Jamie? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the contracts as outlined.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Did you?
I just see.
Moving on to agenda item 19, we have Carl Goshorn here to discuss the contract addendum for Conservation District. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, everyone. The Conservation District seeking approval for a contract addendum for Ken Wolf Jr. Ken has been our consulting engineer for the last 4 years, working with the ACAP and CEG program. The addendum would be for 2 years. That would be January 1st of 25 through December 31st of 2026, and it'd be for $100 per hour for his services. Ken has been a big asset for us the last 4 years, completing many inventory and evaluations of farms, designs, and then he's actually out there during construction inspection to make sure structures are built properly. So he's willing to give us at least 2 more years. Hopefully we can get more than that. But all the funding for paying for his services is through ACAP and CEG program. No county subsidy is needed for his services. So just seeking approval for that. Any questions?
Carl, no questions, just more of a comment. While we're not funding this, I appreciate you stretching the dollar and Ken's willingness to help us out as engineers on a part-time basis. It's really it's a nice fit.
We are very fortunate to have him living in the county, retired engineer that worked for NRCS. Very fortunate to get his services because Mike, our county engineer, is very busy with the ENS MPDS program, and he doesn't have much time to do the ag work. So Ken, yeah, it's great to have him do this work. We wouldn't have much of a program if it wasn't for Ken and his services.
Please thank him on our behalf, and we're happy to have him.
I will.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's much needed. His Ken services are much needed. Thanks, Carl.
Yep.
Like to make a motion?
I will move to approve.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you so much, Carl. That takes us to agenda item 20, and we have our District Attorney, Sean McCormick, here to discuss a grant award for the District Attorney's Office.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, at this time, I'm seeking the approval of the PCCD Stop Violence Against Women grant, which was awarded of $125,000 for the District Attorney's Office. This goes towards domestic violence. It subsidizes a portion of the salary of one of our detectives and some of our employees in the Victim Services Unit.
Sean, my only question on this is, seems like a fairly significant decrease over the prior year's funding that was received.
I believe, from what I'm told, that this is the same amount we received in the past. PCCD gave us a 3-year grant. They've now cut the number of years down. They're splicing out the years, given the issue with federal funding as to whether some of the federal funding has been decreasing over the last few years. So PCCD has become much more conservative. They're taking it on a year-by-year basis rather than doing 3-year grants.
Okay, thank you, because that's alarming if they were making those kind of cuts to this kind of service. It's very much needed in the communities.
Yes.
So thank you.
Any other questions for Sean?
I move for approval. Stop.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 21, and I will call on Brent Durham to discuss the contract for facilities management. Good morning, Brent.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Before you, for your consideration, is a professional services contract. This is with CLG Services LLC. This contract will provide janitorial service at the main courthouse and East Wing. It is a one-year contract with a cost of $118,560. As you know, we're in the process of making some sweeping changes, no pun intended, with how we handle the cleaning of several of our facilities. This proposal is really the last piece of that puzzle. I will tell you that this contract, comparative to what we are paying now at the courthouse, is more costly. However, if you look at the big picture of what our costs will be to clean Dennis Marion and the main courthouse, old jail, DRO, and Business Central, and compared to what we were paying in 2020 and 2021 for the same group of buildings, our overall costs now will be slightly less. I also want to make sure that you're aware there's some significant changes proposed with how we will handle the courthouse cleaning. It will now be a mix of daytime and evening cleaning. We changed the frequency of some of the tasks. These changes are very closely mimic what we've done in many of our other buildings. And I think you've seen firsthand that it's effective and has proven to work. As with any new change, this is going to be a bumpy road for a little bit till people get used to seeing janitorial staff in the building during the day. Till we get used to the frequencies and all, it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road. But I think at the end of the day, once we get through that, you're going to find that we have a cleaner and healthier building. So happy to answer any questions.
Fred, thank you. I know this has been a kind of an arduous task to try and get this right. And I think having janitorial staff here during working hours is going to be a real big help to just, taking care of emergency things that happen in a building of this age and size throughout the day. And hopefully that frees up your staff a little bit more from having to drop what they're doing to respond to things as well. So thank you for working through it, and we'll all be patient because we want the right thing in the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to get to know the people that clean our facilities. Like, I so appreciate that. I think about elections and I think about Allen Road and how nice it is to get to know our employees who are there, who provide that much needed service to keep us all healthy and safe. So thanks, Brent. Thanks for really looking into this.
You're welcome. There's a lot of benefit to daytime cleaning for sure.
Right. I'm hoping the improvement will actually take place. And a nod to your comment about sweeping changes, I would agree. Sweeping would be a change.
So is there any?
I will move to approve.
Thank you. Moved. Is there a second? It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Thanks so much,
you.
Brent. That takes us to agenda item 22, and I will call on Holly Sherman to discuss a contract for human resources. Good morning, Holly. There you
Sorry,
are.
I was having technical difficulties. Sorry about that. I am presenting a contract for our excess workers' compensation insurance, which we are required to have since we are self-insured for our workers' compensation. HR is recommending, and the contract before you is a renewal with the company that we've had for several years. The rate they are providing is a flat rate over the prior contract, but there is a projected increase to the amount we will pay them based on the payroll dollars over the next 2 years. So flat rate, but increased payroll dollars are going to equate to higher premiums paid of about approximately 16% more.
Any questions for Holly?
I do not. Someone willing to make a motion?
I'll move for approval.
I second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, moving on to agenda item 23, I will call on Mark Evans to discuss the contract and grants for MHIBD. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, everyone. I have 5 mental health contract amendments to present to you today. The first being Aurora Social Rehabilitation Services. This is an increase of $71,116 to extend the contract to a full year to June 30th. For the Cumberland County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, an increase of $92,354. This is also an increase for full fiscal year funding to extend the contract to June 30th. For Keystone Service Systems, this is just to extend their contract to January 31st, increase of $87,600. Perry County Prison, an increase of $15,555 for full year fiscal year funding and extend the contract to June 30th. For York County Transportation Authority doing business as Rabbit Transit, an increase of $71,044 to extend the contract to June 30th.
Yeah, Mark, the only question that, or not question, but the statement I'll just reiterate for the folks that aren't looking at the contracts is that all of these increases, it is still all state funded through the programs that you're overseeing.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else have questions of Mark at this time? I do not.
I'll move for approval of contracts as stated.
A second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 24, I will call on Brian Hamilton to discuss the contract for public safety. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, everybody. Requesting your approval of a site license agreement contract with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission for the shared use of the Research Summit Tower site. This is a 10-year agreement with a one-time application fee of $2,500 and a one-time supervision/inspection fee of $6,500 and an initial monthly lease fee of $1,000 with a yearly escalator of 3%. Total cost for the 10 years is $146,566.55. Any questions?
Brian, I've just kind of asked, how critical is that location for the functionality of the phone system, the new emergency radio system?
It is fairly critical. It's a site that we use today in today's radio system, and we'll need to continue to use that in the next radio system for its coverage footprint it provides.
Thank you. No other questions?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all.
That takes us to agenda item 25, and I will call on Justin Miller to discuss a grant application for recycling and waste. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning, all. This is the paperwork for our fourth and final household hazardous waste event of the year that was held on October 24th. Interestingly, it was the largest event of the year, which I think is interesting because it was on a Thursday versus a Saturday. But the two forms we have to submit to DEP, first one, record of operations, shows that we collected 33,650 pounds from 378 residents. The second form is the what they call the application for reimbursement. This is the grant money. Total eligible costs for the event were $36,467.86. We took in $15,724.45 in fees from residents, which makes us eligible for 50% of the costs, which comes out to $18,233.93.
Questions for Justin?
I will move to approve.
So second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. That takes us to agenda item 26, and I will call on Katie Zimmerman to discuss a grant application for our Veterans Affairs and Services.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here requesting approval to apply for a $7,000 grant from the Veterans Trust Fund. So when you renew your driver's license and they have those little funds that you can donate to, that's where this money goes, to this grant program. So this is a competitive grant that we haven't received in a couple of years. So looking forward to hopefully a successful application this year. The $7,000 will go towards outreach supplies and marketing materials. So the Veterans Affairs Office is going to do monthly outreach events to try to connect with more veterans to then get them connected to services, especially in our rural libraries, because they're good community centers for them to meet with folks. And if you'll allow me a moment, when I work with someone on a grant, I ask, hey, do you have any testimonials from the folks you serve that I can include in the grant to show how well your office works and the impact that you're having? And I'd like to read 2 very short quotes that I think are just so powerful about the work our Veterans Affairs Office is doing. This one says that the Veterans Affairs staff, quote, exceeded my expectations, and compared to other VA support offices, I would recommend their professionalism, efficiency, and empathy as a role model within the VA support system. And then the other one is, I received my first VA compensation today. I've been trying to get compensation for chronic disabilities since October of 2016. I threw up my hands at the last decline of benefits and decided not to pursue compensation anymore. My friend who I serve with insisted that I pursue the benefits she felt I was entitled to. She did a search and found a Cumberland County Veterans Service officer. My husband and I liked her immediately. She took charge and told me what she had planned and what she needed from me. I can't thank her enough for helping me see this through. So our Veterans Affairs team is doing really good work, and I'm hopeful that this outreach grant can help us connect more veterans to the work that they do.
Hey, quick question. You said that we've received it in the past, and then it was not received for a number of years. Yes. And I find that curious. Over the last 3 years, we've gone through a major renewal expansion of that office, and we're very pleased. I would say even that much more so based on what you have. So I'm a little curious as to, do we have any reason stated for why that grant application was not awarded over this last year?
It's a competitive application, so we don't get it every year. And I think especially with the office kind of revamping, maybe it took them a little bit of time. And I also think that they didn't necessarily have the grant expertise to know how to submit a competitive application. So I'm hoping that this year we're more successful. Yeah, but it is also competitive. So it's like it's whoever else applies, and then how much money they have in that fund, because it changes every year based on donations.
Okay.
Yep, I actually can take that one. So this grant was received back in 2018 under one director of that office. A staffing change was made. The new director it came in, made a presentation in 2019 to sort of reallocate those funds, which was approved by the state. The materials were received, and then some major changes happened, as you know, happened in that office. The timing of when that grant applications were due would have been very unfair to put a new director in the same position that the previous director had been in, which was trying to navigate through a grant award for programs that individual didn't necessarily buy into completely. And so with the timing of this, I think we're really excited to see what Keeter and the staff can do, because as Katie noted, really fabulous staff that we have now. So
you're doing great work. Yeah. Katie, can you maybe, do you have any idea of how large the pool is of available funds? Is there any history on that, do you?
I don't know that I have that for sure. I have a list somewhere, and I didn't print it out, of which counties received money in the last couple of years, because I wanted to see who got that, so I can send that to you if you're curious. Counties can apply for up to $15,000. Nonprofits can apply for up to $40,000. When I was at the food bank, we applied for this grant annually, and we used to get $50,000, and they reduced it to 40. So I think that they either have less money or more people are applying, and they're trying to spread the funds around. So it is fairly competitive, and they are genuinely looking at people's plans and how they're going to use the money and impact for veterans.
And is it performance when you're making the application? Are you providing numbers of people served and the performance base? So that probably weighs heavily on the application.
Absolutely. So that's something that we're really going to track, is what are the veterans that connect with the team at these events that they use the materials at, and then do they translate into them coming into the office and receiving services and benefits?
Perfect. Yeah, by and large, in our departments where there's been consistency with staffing, they have been quite successful with grants. I'm excited that this board is now taking action to actually apply for some funding for the much needed items that we have, and you're a big part of that, Katie. So thank you.
Yes. Yes, having a grants administrator and hiring Katie was an excellent move.
Thank you.
Questions on that?
No more questions? Would someone like to make a motion?
For approval of the grant.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll turn it back over to Stacey.
thank you. So that does take us to agenda item 27, which is Commissioner's Liaison Reports. And Commissioner Nero, start with you.
Yes, I will begin as I normally do with giving a recap over the last couple of weeks. It was even though a holiday week, it was still quite busy. Both Jean and I attended the New Vision long-term structured residence tour, which was an incredible property. Annie took time to take us through that. It's a great facility doing great work. Commissioner Fasci and I also met with the owner of Little Steps Daycare, who was moving in Lemoyne. This came out of the Cumberland County, Coalition for Women event that was hosted surrounding childcare, and she is serving a really unique need in Lemoyne. Half of her families are obtaining assistance for their daycare service. So it was really neat to see how she's pulling that all together, and has been in operations supporting childcare for a long time in the community, which is much needed. As Commissioner Fasci mentioned, she attended the County Commissioners Fall Conference, and it's always good to engage with other commissioners across the state and gain some insight as to what's working well in their areas, which you thankfully shared, Jean. We all attended very proudly early this week the opening. It's kind of a soft opening and tour for the emergency walk-in mental health clinic that Cumberland County is doing in part with Perry and Dauphin County. The event was quite a success, and I look forward to them serving people in need. And that will be coming online. Samantha, they had the mobile unit deployed, I believe yesterday it began, and they will slowly be ramping up services. So I'm sure we have a lot of great things to hear resulting from that clinic. Additionally, I met with Rosette Harris, who is the new director for Hope Station, who discussed with me the change in their mission. That organization is going through a little, quite a drastic change. They're now hoping to serve the entire county, and their main focus is promoting economic mobility for Black and Brown populations in need across the county. And this morning was at a CREDIC Policy Pulse speaker series where they were welcoming the newly elected officials. Wanted to make sure that I met with the newly elected representative that covers both Dauphin and Cumberland County, Nate Davidson, who was there, very gracious. Over the time period as well, I attended the CREDIC joint board meeting with the Harrisburg Chamber, where they reviewed their budget for 2025, and new board members were elected, as well as they reviewed fairly in depth their strategy for 2025. And I'm always impressed with how hard that organization works to be truly connected with what's happening within the business community, and just trying to make things so much better for Harrisburg, for the businesses, and for the making sure that the government is deploying well in every sector across the community. Additionally, I attended the CADIC board meeting. I will remind everyone there's a holiday event at the CADIC offices on December 12th. If you have not RSVP'd, you may want to consider doing so. I know you all received the packet. I'm just going to highlight a few things. There were 4 statewide LSAs grants were announced, totaling $1.46 million into Cumberland County that for nonprofit entities that worked with CADIC, and CADIC staff was finalizing 10 statewide LSA grant applications. As you all know, that's something that we too have applied for, and quite frankly, I hope we're lucky enough to be granted some of those funds. We'll see. CADIC staff also walked the former Frog Switch site with the Greater Harrisburg Association of Realtors. And they applied for an Environmental Protection Agency Brownfields Assessment Coalition grant on behalf of the county for 7 sites in Cumberland County, including that Frog Switch location. So that's something that this board will have to stay close to see how that is going. Additionally, the CADIC staff met with the controller's office. Lisa Watts was gracious to spend some time with them to lay out some expectations going into 2025 so that the financial reporting is not delayed to this board. And then last but not least, CADIC did get approval by the board for their budget. I have a follow-up meeting scheduled with Janet, the director. I have some questions regarding additions to staff that are being proposed in the budget, along with some of the focus areas. Some questions were raised during the comments through the meeting. So I will update you as to how that meeting goes on my next report. And that is it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lachey.
Well, good morning, Cumberland County. I would remind you to use the Cumberland County Library System. It's just, there's so many terrific things. I'll remind you again about tutor.com. If you are trying to learn anything and you need some help, tutor.com is available 24/7 and it's free. You have to make it, you have to go in and register and set up the time with the tutor, but what a resource. What a good free resource. If you'd like to learn calculus, I always talk about that. You can learn calculus.
Who needs
I attended the Interfaith Thanksgiving service in Shiremanstown the Sunday before Thanksgiving. It was at the Shiremanstown United Methodist Church, and that was a tremendous experience. So there are students from Messiah that host that. Lots of great conversation, meeting fabulous people from around the community. Rabbi Schoper, he talked about creating a peace garden. And afterwards, I said to him, well, we have the Penn State Master Gardeners and we have the Penn State Master Watershed group. And when you're ready to go, we're ready to go to help you. So what a great connection in the community.
And we have rain barrels.
And we do have rain barrels. Let them know that too. I met with a representative from Magellan, and Magellan, she's from Maryland, but Magellan has been assisting other counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with funding sources for their crisis intervention centers. So maybe that's something that we would want to talk about, or maybe see if we could get Magellan in here to talk about that. I think that could be incredibly helpful. And you and I were at CCAP. One of the things, I went to Ag Committee, and one of the things that they talked about at Ag Committee were potential changes to the Clean and Green program, including possible acreage up to 25 acres. So that's kind of something that we should be thinking about and considering what will happen if there's a change to that. They talked about ag reserve, and I have to follow up with Stephanie on this, and how if you're an ag reserve, you're supposed to allow people on your property to recreate. Keep this going, yes. So I think that was an interesting thing to learn. And Wayne County is doing a reassessment, and they haven't had a reassessment since the 70s. And they talked about how important the soil map is, particularly in the region, because there are 88 different values for soils. And so they have to go through that updated map in terms of their reassessment of farms. But when they did talk about reassessment and how important it is to have a good relationship with your farmers and to bring them to the table to talk about what is happening and potential impacts to them, as well as to their Mennonite. They talked about their Mennonite community and how important it was to bring them to the table to have that conversation. So I thought that was a really good meeting to get to, because they certainly have encountered a lot of new and different things, and had a lot of, I think, good things to share about potential red flags and pitfalls and what's working and what's not and how they would approach things. So that was time well spent, as was that CCAP conference. It was time well spent. ES&S, I went to see ES&S because I wanted to see their electronic poll book. They did not have one with them. But at lunch, woman, the commissioner from Berks County, from Delco, and then Berks County was there also. And Delco talked about how they only bought like a couple of those electronic poll books as a pilot. And then they put them out there and tested them out to see how they worked, and it went well. So they'll buy them, they don't have to buy 300 all at once. You don't have to buy all of them all at once. So I thought that would be another interesting thing for us to consider. They said it certainly served the voters in a much better way, as well as made life easier at their Bureau of Elections. So that's it, Stace.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just briefly, let's see, Affordable Housing Board was supposed to be last week. They got canceled due to some unforeseen circumstances. I believe it's going to be rescheduled rather than waiting for the next meeting. On recycling, we got Justin's report when he gave the contract presentation regarding the household waste volume. Highest one we've had yet. So that continues to be a terrific program. I did ask him for an update regarding Hampton Township's effort to put together a yard waste consortium. And that effort has not made particular progress in terms of identifying municipal participants. Hampton has put a deadline of December 20th on the municipalities to give them an indication on whether they should push ahead with the formation of an authority or not. So that's relevant to us because obviously there's still a decision ahead of us in regards to disposal of the county's equipment, and we'll have to face that choice once we have more information, of course. So, but that is on the books for December 20th. So one way or another, we're going to have some progress toward whatever the final solution is on that. So on MH, we heard from Mark regarding the contracts, which we took action on today. There was, let's see. Since it was mentioned, I won't go into a lot of detail, but the Connections Walk-In Center, it was, I thought, a really terrific event for a number of reasons. Had to come together, I mean, they're trying to open that center and get their licensing in line and get their staffing in place. That's not small. So, there were a lot of changes at last minute to make sure that it was an opportunity for public outreach. And I want to mention to Samantha Krebs, our communications director, and her staff did a phenomenal job in kind of picking up the slack there where it was needed to ensure that the public was aware of it. And as a result of that, we had extraordinary turnout from local media, which is very important to getting that message out, not only about the availability of the service now, but the issue, keeping the issue in front of the public regarding the need for adequate funding on the mental health question, because it touches so many other public safety areas. So we had a whole slew of state reps there. That was great to see, including Nate Davis, the new, who we mentioned, Commissioner Nieder. Got to talk to him a bit. We had excellent media attendance, as I mentioned. There were state officials, both elected and administrative. So it was quite a room full. There were 7 tour groups that proceeded through the event. And I think everybody was impressed not only by the quality of the facility, which looked, shall we say, transformed from when we were there last December to kick off the project. But so it was a great opportunity. It's been picked up significantly in the media. So folks in need know that service is there. That issue is back on the radar. We've had great support from our media partners in terms of outreach to the public. But again, thanks to our communications office for that. Annie Strite, our MH director, and Andrea Kepler from Dauphin County, I think, did a phenomenal job in presenting the mission of the organization and explaining how it's going to work. So I think they made the absolute best of that opportunity for public outreach, and everybody's to be congratulated on that. We had commissioners from all 3 counties, with one exception, Dauphin, who was unable to attend. But that type of unified front really, I think, sends some very strong messages. So just came away from that extraordinarily pleased. And I know our friends in the MH department are as well. So I think that's it for me. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. That takes us into agenda item 28, which is report of executive sessions. And I would like to report that on November 27, 2024 at 9:30 a.m., there was an executive session regarding personnel. And I'll ask if there is any other business to come before the board today. Hearing none, seeing none, we are adjourned.